Get your free tickets to meet Sean Spicer in Chicago on August 8th. Go to 560theanswer.com/briefing.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. It's the thing that I'm most upset about Trump over is surrounding himself with these low-rent individuals like Michael Cohen, because it forces us to have to endure exposure to more low-rent individuals in cases like this. So, for example, this oleaginous Michael Avenatti.
Oh, he's like a sword that won't go away, if you know what I mean.
Truly. And he's got his own colorful past. That's not relevant, so we'll stick to what's relevant. Avenatti on MSNBC over the weekend talking about more clients that he has, unnamed to this point, 3 in number, who were also paid hush money by Trump, perhaps through Cohen, and they will be disclosed in all due time.
There are 3 additional female clients of mine that have not been disclosed that were paid hush money prior to the 2016 election, whether it be from Michael Cohen on behalf of the president, an entity that Michael Cohen formed, or AMI. That's what I'm saying.
But those women had relationships with the president, with Donald Trump?
Well, last time I checked, they weren't just handing out checks to anyone, whether they had a relationship or not.
And last time I checked, even if they did have a relationship, and even if they were paid money to not disclose it, and I'm not defending the morality of such behavior, we understand, and I've said on this show any number of times from the outset of his candidacy, Trump is a known cad, so I'm not celebrating it. But last time I checked, nothing of what Avenatti has described rises to the level of criminality. So what is it the Southern District of New York is looking for? Well, for more on this, we're pleased to be joined again by our friend Ron Hosko, former FBI Assistant Director, now the President for the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. Ron, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
It's good to be with you. I picked up a new word recently. It's oleaginous.
That's a great word, isn't it? That's a fun word. And it has wide application when you talk about politics. So, yes.
This has wide application in this case that we're talking about.
There's no question. And so what as somebody who would obviously work in consultation and collaborate with U.S. attorneys, what is the Southern District's play here with Cohen and Avenatti and the American Media Group and the possible payments of hush money?
Well, right now it's a little bit opaque to us. I think these guys are doing what they ought to be doing, which is working quietly behind the scenes. We hear some leakage about the case. I don't think from the U.S. Attorney's Office. I don't think from the FBI, but from the attorneys and the parties involved, who are all, I think, posturing and trying to, find some PR high ground in what is a quagmire. Who slept with who was paid for, and for what, who has possession, who has knowledge. It seems like we are in a constant battle. We get to listen to it between the attorneys, between some of the parties. Certainly, Mr. Avenatti has been the most outspoken. I will say he speaks in a manner that suggests he is very confident in his information and in his position. So, does that reveal that he truly does have additional witnesses, and more to the point, what, if anything, do those witnesses add to this case? We don't have a president who's on trial. We don't have a president who is likely to face criminal charges or criminal indictment from Bob Mueller per DOJ policy. So what, at the end of the day, do we have? I would say at least we have a bunch of witnesses who lack aspects of credibility. If you ever get to the point where there are charges, I would not expect that Bob Mueller would proffer any kind of criminal charges on the testimony alone of a Michael Cohen. He would be looking for additional information that validates anything that Cohen says, and probably be looking to do that 2 or 3 times over to prop up Cohen as a witness. So we should have no expectation Bob Mueller's going to bring any charge based solely on unvalidated testimony of Michael Cohen.
So is there a violation of campaign finance law? Because by paying them off, essentially, he was influencing the election.
Well, that's not.
Or that's one line of argument that I heard.
That is a line of argument, and we're going to have to wait to see. Is there state of mind information there? Is there evidence of concealment? I think those factors would make a potential campaign violation charge much stronger.
Right, but so the campaign finance violation would be like Michael Cohen making a donation above the limits. Or failure to disclose. And so to your point about state of mind, you'd have to know that Trump knew what Cohen was doing and why he was doing it to skirt campaign finance laws. But I just don't believe that the Southern District of New York, the play here is a campaign finance case. The play is what Andy McCarthy has said. It's an extortion case. But there's just nothing that's been presented. I mean, again, we're talking only what's available in the public sphere. Nothing that's been presented that makes out either one of these cases.
Right. That's the difficult part from us. We are seeing, I believe, a small fraction of what Bob Mueller possesses and of what the Southern District of New York possesses. So, we're just engaging, as is Andy McCarthy and so many others, engaging in fairly rank speculation. We don't know the strength of the witnesses. We don't know the strength of documentary evidence, transactional information, whether it's phone calls, text messages, banking information, travel records, all of which these guys are going busily about their job collecting. And now we hear reflections of the Southern District trying to go deeper into Trump's friends with other notables. I think it is the National Enquirer, a publisher or a producer. And so, look, this is part of what Mueller is trying to do. And I know we've talked about it before, how long it takes to get to the core information. Who are the key people? How do you get there? And how do you convince someone that you will be my witness if I'm Bob Mueller, if I'm the U.S. Attorney in Southern District?
Speaking of Mueller, how important is the Manafort trial to his larger investigation, that the Manafort trial, which commences this week?
To me, it's only important in one significant way, that it is additional pressure on Manafort to cooperate, because he's going to face what could amount to a life in prison sentence if he's convicted. My supposition would be, based on reading the information or the indictment. The indictment is strong. It lays out a strong case. There is very likely ample proof to convict. And so this is the continuing squeeze on someone that Mueller would see as a logical nexus between the campaign and Russian influence because of the work that Manafort did. So I think it is a continuing squeeze. And if Manafort comes across, well, first, the essential question is, does Manafort have something that hurts the president, that hurts others in the campaign, to make the bigger case? We don't know that. Manafort's holding steady to his innocence. I think, based on the indictment and knowing Mueller and some of the people on his team, he is very likely to get a conviction. And then what?
Then hopefully the president could pardon or commute his sentence.
Well, why would the president have to do any of the above? I mean, that would make no sense. Why would he do something like that when that would almost feel like he's trying to cover something up? And this is all Manafort's business dealings. This has nothing to do with Trump.
But that's what this deals with. It is strictly an indictment charging Manafort. It does not charge him in a broader conspiracy. But I think, first, Manafort, just from a taxpayer, a tax-paying public member of the public perception, made some horrible mistakes here, and just thumbed his nose at U.S. tax law.
Yeah,
the expectations for all of us to contribute our fair share. He did that in a flagrant way. As I said, I think he's likely to be convicted, but it doesn't reflect necessarily on any kind of Russia scheme with
Right.
the campaign.
Right.
But it's Paul Manafort standing alone.
Just because Manafort thought he could behave like a Russian oligarch doesn't mean that Trump was colluding with the Russians. I mean,
Exactly right. Exactly right.
let me ask you another question about Mueller. This report last week that he's re-reviewing Trump's tweets as it pertains to Comey and others. Yeah, those kind of press accounts, whether they're true or not, they don't exactly inspire a lot of confidence that the Mueller investigation is onto a substantive track.
Well, I don't disagree with that. You know, look, I think Mueller is obligated absolutely to look at obstruction of justice in whatever form it appears. Is it some, a weave of tweets and private conversations? I think he's beyond Twitter. He's not one that's given to documenting a lot of what he does electronically. So what kind of picture does that present? And I think perhaps one of the challenges for Mueller here is if he is to charge people with some form of collusion or write a report that suggests the president obstructed justice, it needs to be pretty darn compelling because
Yeah.
we have a very divided public on these issues. And so, if you're agnostic and you just want to know the facts, I want a compelling case if you're suggesting the president of the United States conspired to obstruct justice, obstructed justice, took other steps. That better be strong. And
Well,
I think that's true of any case
right.
against the president.
And the additional problem that Mueller has with obstruction of justice is that you've had arguably exculpatory statements offered on the topic by Comey and McCabe and others that, no, he didn't feel pressure to do anything. No, I don't think he interfered. I mean, this isn't verbatim, but that's essentially what Comey, for example, has said previously with respect to the Russian collusion investigation. So, that's a pretty high bar for Mueller to clear if there's going to be an obstruction case made out.
Well, and you also have the Rosenstein memo that basically gives the president the justification for the firing. So once again, the question goes back to what was the president's true intent here? And in a couple of things that he has said and done, some would say he's revealed his true intent. It's to take the Russia investigation off track and to abdicate or to quit any kind of charges against Mike Flynn, to basically make this thing go away.
Yeah, but this is the kind of the chicken and egg problem that Mueller has, right? If he obstructed justice by trying to derail the Russian collusion investigation, you have no evidence of Russian collusion, and you've got conflicting evidence at best of any effort to obstruct. And then you have the additional legal argument offered by Dershowitz and others that it doesn't matter what the president's intent was because he's well within his right to fire Jim Comey because he doesn't like the color of his tie. It's an executive appointment. And so that is a lot that Mueller is up against, which is why you can understand the likes of Trey Gowdy, who are inclined to be very defensive about, protective of the FBI and DOJ, have sort of run out of patience with Mueller.
Yeah, well, again, I think that we would be making a mistake if we let the politicians decide.
Agreed.
The pace of a criminal investigation. That's a huge mistake. And certainly if the sides were flipped here, the voices would be flipped as well, right? If it was President Hillary Clinton under investigation, a lot of folks would be saying exactly that. The teams would be reversed. Those on the right would be saying, "Hey, let this thing reach its logical conclusion." So I think my supposition is Mueller's moving as quickly as he can. He will bring it to some logical conclusion in a relatively near term, and some of these pieces will fall into place. Does Manafort, with a conviction, fall into place and Manafort say, look, I don't want to spend the rest of my life in federal prison. I'm going to tell you everything I have to avoid that result. Or does Manafort say, I know nothing. I can't help you because I have nothing. And Mueller can't challenge it because he has nothing to the contrary to crack him open. That's going to happen in the near term, I think. Does a major piece fall into place or does that major piece not exist?
All right. We will find out at some point in some distant star. Ron Hosko, former FBI Assistant Director, now the President for the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. Ron, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great talking to you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.